Hey, folks, welcome to the first episode of On the Water podcast. And, guys, this concept is something that I think is going to be very enjoyable for you. The goal here is to be on the water with different anglers from the community around the nation to talk about what motivates us to get into the water, do this for days, grind tournaments, etc. The goal here is to have a short form content for you or a short term format for you guys so you can just while you're making your drive back home or where you're, at your house chilling, just take a listen and have some fun with us guys. And, I'm very excited because actually for the first episode, we have one of the biggest ambassadors for the sport. It's a person that I've known for over a year, very good person, very much part of the community as a whole, right? And, with not much more to add, we have Guillermo Gonzalez with us today. Hi, Guillermo. How are you?
What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm great. I mean, we're here in Toledo Bend in the Texas side. Hopefully, I don't even know if we're in Louisiana or Texas, actually. But we are in Toledo Bend getting ready for the Bassmaster Kayak Tournament Series. This is stop number 6, correct?
Yes. Stop number 6.
Stop number 6. This is actually the final stretch of the trail. And it's a very important tournament for Guillermo. And we'll go over that, in a couple of minutes. But before we even talk about tournament fishing and what drives us to be on the water, I want people to know a little bit more about you. So can you tell us, where you're from? When did you start fishing?
So, as you know, I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And, I didn't start fishing right out of the cradle necessarily. I actually started fishing. I got invited to a little kid's birthday party when I was in first grade that involved fishing, and we didn't know anything that we were doing. They just had this dock out in the Keys and they brought little rods for us, and I was instantly so hooked.
So you started in saltwater instead of fresh?
Yes.
Right? Oh, okay.
Yes, I started in saltwater, and all I wanted to do after that party, a funny story, in that little birthday party, I was the only person that actually caught a bass.
Really?
Yeah, or a fish.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, in the Keys? That'd be amazing. Okay.
Out of all the kids, every kid got bored, they went to the pool, and the poor lady, the chaperone, had to stay with me because all I wanted to do was sit on that dock and keep fishing while all the kids were playing at the pool.
Well, you might argue that you're born for this then. That's so cool. So now you said you started with saltwater. What made you transition to bass fishing then?
Well, I don't know if I can't say that. I don't want to call it a transition because I still, deep in my heart, I love saltwater fishing. But even beyond that, I just really love fishing in general. And bass fishing is just a whole other challenge. Saltwater to me is very challenging, but is a little simpler than bass fishing.
I agree, 100%.
When I go saltwater fishing, I don't need to bring 10,000 different types of lures. I can usually, have a couple of things that I really like to throw. In the saltwater, it's more about finding the fish. It's not as much about patterning the fish. In freshwater, finding the fish is very important, but the pattern is almost even more important.
I agree. Yeah. In my experience, I think if you're good reading the tides on saltwater and understand what it means, if you're fishing inshore for the most part, you have a very high success rate, right? But when it comes to bass fishing, these fish travel so much within an area that you really have to dial it down. So I agree. Bass does feel a little bit harder, but I think what I like about it versus saltwater is that it engages some of the senses that you don't when you're fishing saltwater, right? You're trying to figure out patterns, weather, depth, all of these things that could potentially impact the bite, right? And I think it becomes more of a puzzle, right, of figuring them out. And that's really what excites me about bass fishing for the most part. But, obviously you're fishing a little bit more freshwater than salt. But why a kayak instead of a boat?
Well, if I'm being honest, I got into kayak fishing in college because I couldn't afford a boat. You know, I mean, it's that simple. And once I discovered just how capable these kayaks are, I honestly never, after that, never even had the desire to buy a boat. I enjoyed it so much, and it gave me the ability to compete and get anywhere these boats can get, catch all the same fish these boats are catching. I just, from then on, it almost seemed like kayak fishing was the cheat code. You know, I could get out, catch all the same fish, but I wasn't spending the same amount of money on a boat payment, on gas, on maintenance. I mean, not even close. And I mean, my kayak's pretty tricked out. And even with that, I'm still not anywhere near the, you know, flirting with the cost of a bass boat.
No, yeah, I agree. Just the gas itself. But that opens a segue to something interesting. I think my perspective is that you're not necessarily a conventional kayak fisherman. And what I'm trying to say is nowadays you see that there's a lot of technology, right, in these boats. We have live scope graphs, we have huge storage options, we have ways of carrying 9, 10 rods. And you know you're still fishing on a kayak that is it's more sort of a canoe, right? So he's actually using the new canoe Pursuit, and I wouldn't say it's a conventional kayak at all. It's a great kayak, and you'll see why hopefully today. But why are you still so attached to that particular model, considering the fact that there's so many options? Even within the new canoe line, we have so many options.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, I love the Unlimited. I use it a lot. I use it a lot for hunting. I use it in the salt a lot, and I use it when I'm musky fishing. But for competitive bass fishing, for some reason I am very attached to this Pursuit, and the whole reason behind it is well, there's several reasons, but I've kind of got a system with it and the way that I store everything. But even far beyond that, it's the efficiency of the hole. This is the most efficient hole that I've ever been in. I've never had to worry about running out of battery with the motor.
Okay, yeah. So you don't stress your battery at all, just because it's so lightweight and it drafts very well.
Well, it's because like hydrodynamic, the way the water moves through it, it creates such little drag, and that makes it faster. But faster is just a simple way to do it. Really, it's more efficient because I can go the same speed that, you know, all of my fellow competitors are going, using a lot less throttle.
Yeah. So you have more juice at the end of the day on that battery. Yeah. Which makes you run further, right? Yeah. You can potentially go faster, further. That definitely efficiency. And I think you're right on the dot, or you hit it right on the dot when you say efficiency. To me, lately, it feels like being more efficient is more important than having more stuff, right? I myself have, you can see it, I have a ton of stuff on my kayak, but it feels that efficiency, sometimes I really want it, and I'm okay with sacrificing stuff that I have on me right now, which is great. So we talked about competition, right, and being efficient. My question, so when did you started tournament fishing? Around when?
I think I fished in my first kayak tournament in 2012.
Oh, okay. So it's been quite a while now.
Yes. It's been a little while for sure.
Was it a Bass Nation by any chance?
No, it was a local trail. And my first ever tournament was on a lake called Lake Joe Pool. And I actually won that tournament. I went into the tournament not really knowing what I was going to do. I didn't have a great practice, but I found this patch of grass during the tournament. I caught all my fish out of it, and I did really well. And as you can imagine, like, getting the opportunity to win a tournament just lit a fire in me, you know?
That's a great way to start, yeah. It gets you very excited.
It got me very excited. It made me feel like I could do it. I had fished in some college bass fishing tournaments already, and don't get me wrong, we had some good ones, but for the most part, I got my butt kicked. But it wasn't until I started fishing by myself, making all my own decisions, that I started to realize that I was capable of being a successful tournament fisherman. And once I realized that, that really lit a fire in me. And from there, I wanted to fish as many events as I could.
I guess, can we say that you do this almost for a living?
Almost. Yep, almost. I can't 100% do it for a living. I have some amazing sponsors. They help me out a lot, and they give me the ability to do it almost for a living, but I'm not 100% at a living. So, you know, I still do photography, a little bit of videography, and farm and ranch real estate to kind of fill everything else out so that I can, you know, essentially make a living.
That's a cool way. And it's funny because so we, you know, people that we don't do this for a living or are too involved in tournaments, you know, sort of the goal is to get to that point, right? And, you know, would it be fair to say that this is really not for everybody, that it's just very tough? It's just more than what the eye can see?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard work to keeping your sponsors happy. Forgive me, I'm probably gonna backlash this again. I haven't ever thrown a Carolina rig on this reel, and I just backlashed it on the first cast. Still, I get it figured out. Oh man, I may not be able to do it with this rod. But anyways, yeah, it's not as, it's definitely, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very gratifying. I enjoy it so much. I wouldn't have it any other way, but there's definitely a lot that comes along with it that can make it difficult, between the travel, you know, the work that it takes to keep your sponsors happy. There's a lot involved there, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it seems like it, right? Nowadays, we're on an age where social media and content creation is almost available for everyone. So, you know, if you're getting support from the sponsors, you really have to put in the work, which, I mean, you certainly do very well. Now, we're talking about sort of doing this for a living, right? Where you're investing a lot of your time in tournaments. I would want to ask, you know, and this one's a hard question because I feel I don't want to give I don't want you to give me the juice, right? But when we talk about preparing for a tournament, what's the first goal? What should people that are starting getting into tournament fishing do when they start preparing for a particular tournament? Should they just look at maps? Should they just search for information online, go in the water? What's your first suggestions for these people that are just trying to get into tournament fishing?
So that's a difficult question to answer, because I think everybody has a different philosophy on the right way to get ready. You know, I used to do a lot of internet research, and I don't really do as much of that anymore. And I think that's because I kind of realized whatever you read on the internet, so to speak, it can be great information and it can get you started, but sometimes it gives you a preconceived notion on what you're actually going to be doing out there, and not that preconceived notion could benefit you, but in a lot of cases, especially for me, it hurt more than it helped. You know, at the end of the day, I realized I needed to do my own thing out there. I needed to fish my own way. So at least for me, I'll definitely always do some map study between, you know, reading topographs and looking at aerials. I do a bunch of that. And then from then on, I try to find places in the lake where I feel like I can maximize my potential in terms of what my strengths are. You know, and to me, that's changed. That's changed. It's definitely heightened my success rate. You know, because at the end of the day, your head game is so important in this game that if your head's not right, you're just not going to catch them. And I couldn't tell you why that is, you know, or why it makes as big of a difference as it does, but it's been very clear to me that it does. It makes a huge difference, and And if you can't find ways to really get your head game right from the very beginning, and what I mean by that from the very beginning, I mean like get your head game right from the day that you leave the house to go and practice for day one. From there, your head game already has to be right. And by, you know, going into something, knowing I'm gonna utilize my strengths the best I can, that's how I get my head game right, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And I think if I look back at my tournament trails, the people that are always doing the better are the guys that fish to their strengths, right? So when we do our post tournament interviews or award ceremony, you're gonna see that these people are saying, "Oh, I caught them on a Zoom speedworm." Every tournament, it's the same thing, right? So they're leveraging their strengths and putting that into play into whatever lake they're fishing.
Now here is where it gets interesting. You know, when you're going into a tournament, it's important to find ways to utilize your strength, but when you're not in a tournament, when you're just going fishing for fun, that is the time to get outside of your comfort zone.
I agree.
And if you can do that, then suddenly you'll find things that at one point in time may have been your weakness are suddenly your strength, and that just arms you even further whenever you show up to a new lake. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I think, you can't limit yourself to one technique or two, right? There's just so much going on in bass fishing that you definitely want to adapt, right? It's also about adapting, which is important.
Right. Exactly. And that's, that's the one part a lot of people miss, I feel like. And I can't blame them, because it's hard when you go fishing. You want to enjoy yourself. You don't want to be out there doing stuff that you don't like doing. But I mean, if there's been one key that has really elevated my success, it's being willing to get outside of my comfort zone in the opportunities that I do have that aren't tournament related. I've been able to harness and learn some new techniques that over time have actually become strengths of mine, and that can pay off so big.
No, I agree. So, I think preparing is as important as anything, right? When it comes to tournament fishing, but kind of moving out from preparation and implementation of your techniques, we can make arguments here. You've been very successful tournament fishing, but I don't really care too much about that right now, because everybody knows. What I really want to know is, what about kayak tournaments really motivates you more than the competition itself?
That's a tough question to answer. Because the competition is so much of what motivates me. I like it. Does it? I like to win. I like to compete, and honestly, it's funny. It's like some of the most gratifying seasons that I've had are the seasons by which, I was challenged. I wasn't having a great season, but by the end of the season, I was able to turn it around. You know what I mean? And that's so much of that is because I love the competition. And it seems like the more cards that I have stacked against me, the more gratifying it is to compete. Now, beyond that, I think one of the reasons I'm so drawn to kayak tournaments has a lot to do with just the quality of our community. It's a community that I have really just grown to love. Every single person that's a part of it, including you, Chris. We have so many great people in the kayak fishing community that, like, beyond going to tournaments and actually wanting to do well, I just always can't wait to see everybody.
Yeah, I enjoy the pre-tournament meetings, the post-tournament meetings. That's a fun place to be.
Right, right, exactly.
You actually, if you're doing national trails, I'll tell you my experience, right? It's we've been looking at these people create content for quite a while, right? People that have been very successful on the tournament scene, and it's kind of great to see them in person and meet them and understand that these people are normal people like you. They just love fishing, right? There's a huge sense of camaraderie within the community. Everybody, if we have to work together to achieve a goal and put aside the competition, I think that's something that will happen. So those are things that I see in the kayak community that really drive me or motivate me to keep coming back to tournament fishing more than anything. Just having that sense of camaraderie.
Right. I agree. I agree, and that's really one of the things that makes our sport so special. But I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said that, competing isn't one of the number one things that drives me, because it is.
No, I understand. Yeah, I mean, hey, some people don't understand that fishing these tournaments is an investment, right? It's not, and I know it's not the main driver, right? It's we don't invest to win all the time. We try to win, but it's really a time investment. It's a financial investment. There's a lot that goes behind tournament fishing that some people don't see and don't understand. I understand it's not for everyone, right? Not everybody will be a tournament angler, but again, it's something that's different. It's fun, and I honestly encourage everybody that's been thinking of doing it to do it. I started as a angler with zero tournament experience, and the community itself helped me out without hesitation. Right? They helped me understand what I was doing wrong, what I needed to do better, where were my strengths. Even though we had that sense of competition, they were always very nice to me. And even at the national level, right? I still feel that it's somewhat similar. It's a little bit more competitive. You have more money in the pool, of course, but I still think you still get a sense of that when you're fishing national trails. Now, you've been doing this for quite a while. My question would be, what are your next plans? Do you continue do you plan to continue on doing this for the long run? Are you wanting to do something more than tournament fishing? Well, I mean, I'm not saying give us the use again, but if you want to tell us, what's in the future for you, that'd be awesome.
Well, I mean, the truth is, it's one of those things that I'm kind of letting Jesus take the wheel. I'm in the process of building a photography and kind of diddling with videography, right? Of building a business for that. And if I'm being honest, I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it a lot. And I think I'm very passionate about. And I think as that continues to grow, you may see me fishing a few less tournaments, but the truth is I'm so passionate about fishing these tournaments that I don't think I'm ever going to go completely away. Of course, you never know. Life can go a great many ways, but I don't see myself just disappearing. I think, even if it's down the road, I'm fishing 2 to 3 events a year as opposed to as many as I used to. But I think I enjoy this too much, and to ever see it just completely go away, it's definitely too much fun for me, and so I love this community too much to just go away. It's like, it's hard to explain, but there's no doubt that eventually, right now I do a lot of traveling, and eventually I definitely want to slow down, and be in one place and whatnot.
Where do you see the future of the sport though now? Because we're talking about future, but the sport as a whole, what do you think's gonna happen? 5 years, 10 years from now.
That's a really tough question, because the sport has changed so much in the last 10 years, and it's become, it's become something that I honestly didn't anticipate it would become. And I mean that in a good way. But then you have like your ebbs and flows, like COVID. COVID, it seemed like After COVID, all everybody wanted to do was fish. And everybody wanted to travel and fish tournaments, and that we were just breaking records left and right. And now that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, there's a lull.
We're definitely right now in this lull, and it's kind of a lull of uncertainty where I don't really know what's going to happen. But I have no doubt that because of the nature of the sport and the barrier of entry and everything. Now, mind you, the barrier of entry is getting higher than it used to be, because suddenly we're involving motors and electronics and live scope, and that's all stuff that when I started really wasn't a big part of the sport. It was all just paddling, and but now that's becoming a bigger part of the sport. And so, I mean, the barrier of entry has certainly gone up, but I think the sport still retains that very appealing barrier of entry to which, you don't need a bass boat to be competitive. And, how many times I see it happen all the time in tournaments where, there's a bunch of guys out there with all the technology, but, from time to time, it's that guy who doesn't have the technology, who's out there just fishing his strengths, no electronics, sometimes, no motor even, kicking everybody's butt. Our sport still has that kind of allure to it that I feel like brings a lot of people in. And for that reason, I don't, while it's growing slower than it was, a few years ago, I don't see it ever stopping to grow outright.
No, yeah, and it's interesting because I would argue that the past 2 years we've seen so many developments when it comes to kayak fishing. So many things have come out that are great, but then we're facing that lull, right? Just that downhill from COVID. But to be honest, when we look at COVID, that really wasn't the real, like a real trend. It's something that happened out of the ordinary and promoted outdoor activities for the most part. So I think that's why we saw that increase. But again, I don't, I'm happy that we have so much going on for the sport from a manufacturing perspective, right? We have many options when it comes to kayaks. We have many options when it comes to motors, graphs, whatever, even just the actual lures themselves. I know there's a lot of repetition also, but again, there's also innovation out there, and I'm happy for that. So, and obviously, you did make an argument that the entry point is not easy for some people, but to your point again, I've seen so many people do well. You're on. Got me excited that for a second.
Yeah, I was excited for a split second there. I was excited, but I figured it out pretty quick.
But yeah, going back to tournaments and entry points, I think there's still, I mean, anglers without motors are still in the game. They have, again, if they fish to their strengths, they can make it work. So I don't think the sport has changed, but there's opportunity for everyone that embraces, what's available for them. But yeah, I mean, I think we've been rambling for what, 38 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know we're getting ready for this tournament. We're on our last day of practice. So I really want to give you some time to talk about your sponsors, because I think it's really important that you give them their mention on the podcast. So, go ahead, let us know which are your sponsors, etc.
So, I am blessed to have so many amazing sponsors. I'll start with NuCanoe. NuCanoe literally creates the platform by which I fish out of. They have so many amazing products that make my life as an angler and a hunter as well just overall better. But I always, for me, this is always a frustrating question because I have so many amazing sponsors, and depending on what I'm doing, I'm always thinking about one or the other. But I have to go ahead and thank everybody. Yamamoto Baits, Bajio Sunglasses, Bill Lewis Lures, NuCanoe, Temple Fork Outfitters, Newport motors. I mean, it's crazy how much that little motor has changed the way that I fish. But beyond that, so many, Sims and so many others that I'm just not even thinking of right now. But Yak Attack. But yeah, I'm definitely blessed in what I get to do. Definitely.
No, I mean it's fun to see you in the water, and I think again I want to appreciate the fact that you are grounded. Like, so you're the type of angler that I look up to because you are really grounded, right? It feels like when I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to somebody that loves the sport, that really enjoys what they're doing, and that is a big motivator for myself, right? It makes me feel that there's still people out there that are not doing this just for, let's say, the glory of a tournament fishing. They're actually doing it because they love the sport, and that's really, in my opinion, I might be, it might be a little bit too much, but I think that's really what's gonna help the sport grow. It's people that really love it and are willing to invest the time into the sport itself. So, oops, that's fine. So with that being said, I really want to appreciate your time. I know we don't really have too much time today, but just being here, having a chat with us, sitting with us on the first show, it's an amazing thing. So I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, of course. And this is a new format for me too. I'm out here like trying to maybe fish a little bit and talk, and it's definitely unique. It's definitely unique, but I think you should run with it because I think it's a really cool format, and you'll gain a lot of insight from a lot of great anglers over the years, and I think people will get into it. So thank you for letting me be a part of the very first episode, and I can't wait to do another one with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Again, we'll definitely. I'm thinking maybe we should have another conversation in February in Kissimmee for the Bassmaster tournament. That's going to be a fun one because I think we're going to have the whole team again together, which is nice. But I also want to take a minute to thank Lead Time. So Lead Time has really helped me with the finance portion or investment in these cameras and everything that I'm doing nowadays. So they have been a very big supporter of myself. I also want to thank Newport. Obviously New Canoe. I'm part of the fishing team, which is Blake, Brian. They're great people. Oops.
No, we're good. We're good.
So yeah, I mean, I really want to thank them for giving a person like myself the opportunity to represent their company. Work together with Jack Attack, also great people. No Qua Batteries, all these people. There's so many cool companies in the industry that are willing to support people that really enjoy the sport, and that makes me very happy. So, with that being said, guys, we're going to stop here. It was a great conversation. Please stay tuned because we're going to be dumping this out hopefully once a month. And then as I'm able to travel to national events more and more, we will bring you more content if possible. Any words, any parting words you want to share with us?
No, just super excited. We're here at Toledo Bend. And like you mentioned earlier, actually, I have a shot at Angler of the Year. It's a long shot, but if I go out there and I catch them, I have a shot, and I'm really excited. There's no doubt. I've been out here practicing, and this isn't going to be an easy tournament. Nothing about this tournament is going to be easy. I'm going to have to grind. I'm not going to get very many bites, but it is extremely exciting to know that if I do get the 5 right bites every day, I have a shot. I might be able to take it. I mean, it's going to be tough. The caliber of anglers that are around me in contention for Angler of the Year are unbelievable.
No, I agree.
And it's one of the reasons I love this sport so much. We have some dang good anglers, and to beat them, you got to catch them big time. And but it's possible. It's always possible, and I am thankful that despite the fact that it has been a little tough for me, I think the tough events are better for me usually than the easy ones. I'm very confident in a lot of the tougher events, so I really do feel like I have a good shot. It's really exciting, and I guess by the time this episode comes out, we'll know for sure
Oh yeah.
But I might go out there and I might just tank, and that's possible. My last tournament was a complete tank, and it happens, and that's okay, you know, and it could happen this time, but I'll tell you what, I'm really excited, and I can't wait to get out there.
That's cool. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by. It's
Yep.
always good to be with you. Again, if you guys are not following Guillermo on social media yet, you should. Guillermo Gonzalez. You'll find him on Instagram. I think. Are you still on YouTube or not? Not too much, right?
No, I'm not on YouTube, but you'll find me on Instagram.
So it's gonna be Instagram, and give him your support. Great person, great ambassador for the sport, and again, very happy and very blessed to have you here. I do wish you the best. And guys, I will bring you the update at the end of the show. We'll be here for the award ceremony. Hopefully, this guy will be holding the trophy, Angler of the Year, because I think that's the one that really matters at the end of the day. It just tells you how much effort you put into these events, right? So it's gonna be on nail biter, which makes it more interesting.
Yep.
You're gonna see a lot of people watching these Tourney X brackets and see how Guillermo, Jake Angulas, and other anglers are doing. So stay tuned. We're gonna see that on the B-roll at the end of the show. Again, thanks for watching. Please remember to share, subscribe, like. That's gonna help the channel grow exponentially. See you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.